All right, so welcome back. This is it. This is our final session of the Creative Aging Institute 2022. And our final session is a time-honored NASA tradition called Flashes of Inspiration. We love it so much because it's a really powerful way to showcase the incredible work of our state arts agency members in their own words. And today we're going to hear from 4 state arts agencies about their leveraging state investments in creative aging programs. And they're going to compress 2 years of painstaking work to build creative aging programs in their states into 5 rapid fire minutes. Wish them luck. And in case you've never experienced it before, the Flashes of Inspiration format requires presenters to create a slide deck of exactly 20 slides, with each slide timed to automatically advance after 15 seconds. So once presenters start, there's no turning back. They're on a roll. They're going to be high energy, exciting, and really lots of fun presentations. And it's autumn. Think about if there's a pile of autumn leaves, if things get wild and crazy and off track, we're just all going to land in a fun pile of autumn leaves together and start over. All right, so I'm going to introduce each one of our presenters just before they present, and then I'm going to ask a quick kind of pop-up question when they're through, and we'll hear from all 4 state arts agencies in a row, and then as usual, we're going to have time for an audience Q&A at the end. So do keep your questions coming in the chat as you always do as we go along. As always, you can hear more about all of our distinguished presenters in our speaker biographies packet, and Tiffany's going to post that in the chat. Here we go. First up is Samantha Clarke, Program Officer, Arts Education and Lifelong Learning from the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. So Tiffany, when you're ready, you can bring up Samantha's presentation. I'll go ahead and spotlight Samantha. And we'll get going. All right, Samantha, are you ready?
Susan, I am ready. Hello, I am Samantha Clarke. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Program Officer for Arts Education and Lifelong Learning at the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. As you can see, that's me. I am joining you today from the ancestral lands of the Lenni Lenape here in Trenton, New Jersey. The State Arts Council is the largest funder of the arts in the state of New Jersey. Our budget is a combination of funds appropriated through the state budget and a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts, totaling a historic $33.3 million this year. The Arts Council did not begin LISCA with direct programming serving older adults. Instead, we had several initiatives that indirectly supported our state's older adult population, including those you see listed here. Our team knew that more direct programming was needed to support the older adult population in New Jersey. The Arts Council matched NASAA's funds, bringing our total project budget to $100,000. We called this new programming the Creative Aging Learning Lab, or CALL Lab. Our team developed an opportunity for teaching artists and senior service centers to receive professional development from local and national resources in creative aging. Our 3-pronged approach of develop, debrief, and implement was modeled after an existing council-led program, the Arts Professional Learning Institute. The first prong focused on cohort-based learning between teaching artists and service providers. Participants received months of training on topics that ranged from storytelling, inclusive art practices for those who are homebound, assessment, and more. All participants were paid for their time. We partnered with Lifetime Arts to present some training for our cohort, as well as one-time workshop at a virtual statewide teaching artist conference. In addition, we also supported peer-to-peer workshops led by local teaching artists. Our second prong was a community of practice. This meant monthly and provided teaching artists, senior service professionals, and community organizations an opportunity to reflect on the challenges and rewards of working with the older adults during a pandemic. And our third prong focused on implementation of lessons received throughout the program. Teaching artists were paired with locations serving older adults to implement a 4-day residency at no cost to the location. Teaching artists reached over 200 older adults throughout their 4-day residency. Here's what we found out during this process. We do not have the structure to manage programs inside of our state agency. The flexibility needed to order supplies and pay individuals proved to be difficult. We desired a certain finesse for administrative tasks that we just couldn't achieve within the parameters of state government. One additional hiccup, and understandably so, senior service centers were difficult to connect and sustain relationships with during the pandemic. Several of our service centers dropped out of the cohort during the professional learning phase, leaving our teaching artists without a partner in this work. Here's one thing the council does really well. We are really good at making connections to existing networks. We reached out to our state librarian about libraries who may be interested in partnering with our teaching artists, and out of 3 available opportunities, over 30 libraries showed interest. Immediately, we knew that these were relationships we did not want to lose. We offered free professional learning with lifetime arts to each of these 30 libraries, as well as free virtual workshops with one of our teaching artists. We reached another 100 participants through these workshops. Our number one takeaway from CallLab was that there is a great need to directly support older adults in New Jersey, and that many organizations are already doing the work. However, money continues to remain the number one barrier. So our team proposed a 1-year initiative to provide organizations $10,000 grants to serve older adults in their community. As an effort to widen the road for our partnerships, we made the opportunity open to not just arts organizations, but libraries, senior and community centers, and veterans homes. We launched the Creative Aging Initiative in August and provided direct technical assistance to over 100 organizations and individuals, reaching all but 2 of our counties in individualized support. We successfully utilized new and existing partnerships and networks to get that message across. The interest in CHI far exceeds the council's ability to fund, confirming our belief that arts-based programming for older adults is needed now more than ever. Of the 45 completed applications received, over a dozen were from new organizations to the council. These grants will be voted on in December, and we anticipate that around half of the funded grants will be from new organizations. We are eager to learn from them how to make programming more accessible and more equitable for all that they serve. I end this presentation with deep gratitude for our national partners, NASAA and the E.A. Michelson Philanthropy, for a state administration that values services for its older adult population, and for a council and staff who remain deeply committed to arts education throughout an individual's entire life. Susan, I did it.
Woo! Yes. All right. That is amazing, Samantha. I'm gonna bring you back up so we can do just a quick question here together. Fantastic work. Yay.
Yay.
So first of all, congratulations. That's a hard thing to do, to put all of that work into 5 minutes. And I feel like you did such a great job giving us the breadth of the work that New Jersey did. And I really appreciated the sort of know your lane slide as well. But one thing I know about New Jersey in terms of kindergarten through 12th grade arts education is that you guys are rocking it in arts education for young people, meaning that you're really able to reach students across the state. And if I'm remembering right, communities of practice are sort of part of what makes that effort successful. And that is also something that was a unique feature of your creative aging work, of your project. Can you share a little bit about what you learned from the communities of practice kind of strategy in terms of how to sustain creative aging in your state and help it take root and grow across the state?
That's a really great question, Susan. And the State Arts Council has several communities of practice. And I think along with the Creative Aging program, Creative Aging Communities of Practice, we are learning so much from the community, learning from each other. So this ability to just get together and say, here's what really works, here's where I'm struggling, what's a resource that I can use, watching them connect with each other and find that support, and also say, hey, we're so burnt out. Oh yes, we're feeling that too. Just seeing that, I think, is really helpful. it allows us to learn what they need. And I think just the number one takeaway is we are a state that is very much dedicated to arts education throughout an individual's life. And folks just want to keep doing this work. And so if one of the barriers is money, I'm very lucky that I am part of a staff and a council that believes that we're going to do our best to try to remove that barrier and keep this work going.
I love it. And just a quick follow-up question especially for your colleagues at state arts councils here on with us. How much of like a lift is supporting and sustaining communities of practice? Is it something that you would say is like a strategy that is doable in the context? Like if other state arts agencies thought that's a good idea, maybe I'd like to put that into practice in my state.
It's truly, I don't want to speak for my entire staff, but I do believe that it's not that large of a lift. It's a virtual space. It's an email or two. And once you get that community going, it kind of is self-sustaining. As I transitioned into my role, the community of practice for arts education actually paused, and they asked for it back within like my first week here. They were like, we want it back, please bring it back. So I think the desire is there, and truly it's work that is a pleasure, which sounds trite, but it's not. It's I don't find it a big lift.
That's great. That's what makes work sustainable, is when it gives us pleasure and joy. Samantha, awesome job. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Susan.
Yeah. I'm going to remove your spotlight and bring up Kim Johnson. Kim.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, Kim. Okay. So next up is Kim Johnson, Director of Arts Access with the Tennessee Arts Commission. And we're going to give Tiffany just a second here to pull up your presentation. And are you ready, Kim?
Susan, I accept the challenge on behalf of the creative aging artists, the nonprofits, and the staff of the Tennessee Arts Commission to tell the story of creative aging in Tennessee. I'm ready. Tennessee is a beautiful state. It has 95 counties. We have lots of rural communities in the state, and it is a beautiful place where 1.6 million people over the age of 60 love to retire. Our creative aging partners, really you're seeing on the screen, are 3 implementation partners that have helped us throughout the whole story of creative aging. They provided everything for us from support to expertise. Throughout the last few years, we've gone through 3 initiatives that we're really proud of that you're seeing on the screen, and we'll go through each one of these initiatives and give you a brief explanation of each. Creative Aging 1 was all about doing funding grants throughout Tennessee to really help people expand what they were doing in terms of creative aging. We were so proud of the impact that we had in that one. In the Tennessee Person-Centered Music Program was our second initiative that we used, and you can see it's improving the quality of lives through using music in nursing homes in our state. The Tennessee Person-Centered Music Program, the Tennessee Arts Commission was the first arts commission to be awarded $1 million. And in this program, we use individualized playlists for people in nursing homes and use the power of music over medication. The program works very simply by identifying residents, them choosing the music that they want to hear, and then that actually improves health outcomes of folks in nursing homes. We added partners at this point with the Tennessee Person-Centered Music Program. You can see these wonderful partners, which included the Alzheimer's Association, Alzheimer's Tennessee, and a host of other nonprofit organizations that really helped us. I know you're going to want to know more. So for more information, see our website, and we'd love for you to go and take a look. And I must be running ahead. Our next initiative, we're so appreciative to the E.A. Michelson Philanthropy and NASAA for this, was Creative Aging Tennessee 2. And in this project, we're going to show you the things that we did with this, which have been really astounding. The first thing is that we really increased artist engagement in the state of Tennessee by training artists and also creating a teaching artist roster for the first time. This was something new that we were able to do with this support. I had to show you this picture. These are pictures of some of our diverse creative teaching artists. And I think Dr. Hodges is on the phone with us, but visit this on our Tennessee Arts Commission website. The second thing we did was we funded grants throughout Tennessee, throughout all these rural communities, as well as urban areas, where over 270 older adults participated in a variety of arts programming. The programs included everything from visual arts, but it was also interested in the spaces that people had it, because we really connected to these older adults in spaces and in neighborhoods and communities of where they were and where they lived. There are so many stories to tell about this project that went on throughout Tennessee. These are just a couple of the comments, but it really pulls at your heartstrings when you listen to the stories and read the stories of really what happened. One of the things, you can read all of this for yourself, but we really wanted to decrease social isolation, as well as we kept hearing people saying that they made friends through participating in our Creative Aging Tennessee 2 initiative. And this slide is showing you that everything works together to really create the impact of older adults in Tennessee. All three of these projects had to come and to be in existence. And so we're able to reach people throughout the state. You may ask how we're going to sustain all of this work. Yes, we're doing that through grants funding and continuing that, as well as people being able to visit our Creative Aging Teaching Artists roster, which we're so proud of. Some key lessons, just to point out a couple, overcome the challenges, be flexible, and realize that this is a long-term commitment. It's not a one-shot deal, and we learned that through working with all of these initiatives. And we know that you're going to want to know more. So use my phone number, my email address, or visit our website. Or maybe you just want to move to the state of Tennessee and learn what we're all about and what we're doing in creative aging. Thanks so much.
Wow, Kim. All right. You did it. You were fire. Yes. All right. Well done. Well done. So, I'm sure you have told me this before, and it just sort of hit me in your presentation today about this teaching artist roster, that this was a new thing for Tennessee Arts Commission. One thing I remember from way back when in 2020, I think when we started having our quarterly grantee cohort meetings, was your voice saying how part of this work in designing the program and getting ready was that it helps you also connect with the arts education staff in your own commission. Mm-hmm. And my question to you is, whether it's partners in your own agency, in your own commission, or partners across the state, because I also remember your voice saying the success that you were having partnering with the Department on Aging and others, what is advice that you have about how to really leverage partnerships to get this work going?
You're absolutely right, Susan. With these projects, we've been able to also internally with our staff, really use the staff expertise that they had. And I had not really worked with the arts education staff here in our own department before, our own commission before. And it was really great because they knew about teaching artist rosters, they knew about lifelong learning. And so it was really just a natural fit for us to work together on a lot of different aspects of our creative aging journey. And also, you're right, really those partnerships, we had to think outside of the box throughout Tennessee of who to bring in as partners. But I think the unifying thing with everyone that we've worked with is that we all shared a vision of wanting to improve the lives of older adults in Tennessee. And people were willing to partner with us because of that shared vision. And so that's why a lot of our partners, came on board and really added what they could to this whole project.
Well, I have no doubt that vision and enthusiasm and commitment is also a really big part of why folks joined right in. We've had the pleasure of working together now for a couple of different things, giving presentations, and I learn so much every time that we do connect. I'm seeing in the chat here that folks are really ready to move to Tennessee, so get ready for some more partners coming your way.
Love it.
Yeah. Kim, thank you very much. That was a beautiful presentation. Thank you for your hard work, and we're going to move on. I'll unspotlight you. There you go. Okay, so up next, we have a joint presentation by Laura Rogar, Arts Learning Services Director at the Idaho Commission on the Arts, and Michael Faison, Executive Director, Idaho Commission on the Arts. We're going to give Tiffany just a second to bring up your presentation here. And Michael, Laura, are you ready? Oh.
All ready to go.
One more second. Here we go. Are you ready to go?
Ready to go. Welcome, everybody. Hello, I'm Michael Faison, the Executive Director of the Idaho Commission on the Arts. I'm here with Arts Learning Services Director, Laura Rogar, and we're going to talk about our pilot artist-led creative aging workshops in the 3 veterans' homes of Idaho. Now, today we're sharing our process for piloting creative aging workshops in Idaho's veterans' homes, including how we partnered with the Idaho Division of Veterans Services, how we built the capacity with Lifetime Arts, and what we've learned so far. Why creative aging? Well, Idaho is living longer. 1/3 of us are over 50, and expectancy continues to rise. Here's an opportunity, though, for our state's artists and organizations to serve older adults as more than audience members. Why veterans homes? Well, Idaho Veterans Services leaders and we're all bikers. We share values of respect for veterans, and the veterans homes here serve low-income veterans in assisted living and skilled nursing. And one day we crafted a multi-year service plan. So why us at the commission? We already have relationships with artists and organizations, but we lacked experience in creative aging. We were thrilled when NASAA and LISCA provided this grant opportunity. It's exactly what we needed. Now, the LISCA grant made it possible for us to engage Lifetime Arts to train key Idaho personnel. Here's a shout out to our agency peer, Jocelyn Robertson. Jocelyn, hey, who is not here with us on this, but she was instrumental in our planning. We chose Lifetime Arts for this capacity building work because we needed somebody to guide our training. NASAA helped us to identify them, and of course, they're national leaders in this work. Now, our planning focused on 2 cohorts, a pool of experienced teaching artists and a combo of administrative leadership of Idaho Veterans Services and their on-the-ground staff in the Idaho veterans' homes. We issued a call to our network of teaching artists and paid each artist a stipend for their training time. This 6-hour training was all done online, delivered by Lifetime Arts staff, including model hands-on workshops in drawing and theater arts. We also engaged Lifetime Arts to train Arts Commission staff together with Veterans Service administrative staff and Veterans Home frontline social workers and activity coordinators, all of whom together are important for a common understanding of this work. And by the way, if we do it again, that training would be less than 6 hours, actually. Our agency is paying for the first 2 years of implementation to give time for proof of concept to Veterans Services before they take on their own financial commitment. And now I'm turning it over to Laura to discuss implementation.
Oh man, when COVID conditions allowed, we reconnected with the homes to start workshops. They had been through a tough pandemic and we needed to serve their needs. What we learned is that the homes have committed to person-directed elder care, and that creative aging can align with that model. So here's a quote from Pioneer Network to explain. It says, person-directed values and practices arise where the voices of elders and those working most closely with them are solicited, respected, and honored. We also learned that although artist-led workshops can feel routine to us, they are often very new to institutional care settings. So we surveyed the facility to understand their capacity for arts programming. We also surveyed residents to learn their wishes. This process was new for the homes, and it was moving for the activities coordinators to ask and learn what residents wanted from arts learning. We built upon an administrative sequence suggested by Lifetime Arts and would be happy to share. After selecting an art form, we chose a teaching artist for each home and facilitated co-dreaming sessions to create workshops. Now, our artists were new to working in healthcare, so their participation with infectious disease protocols was important. Once workshops were underway, we stayed in touch to help troubleshoot and collaborate. And through that process, we learned to dial down our focus on sequential skills-based learning for this institution and dial up novel and sensorially engaging workshop experiences. Each workshop has concluded with a COVID-safe celebration, which have so far taken the form of gallery receptions for residents and then information shared to families virtually. Following the workshops, we surveyed all of the activities coordinators, the teaching artists, and students about their experiences. Everyone involved reported that the attentive presence of an artist in the home ignited creativity and community connection, and everyone wants to do it again. So with each workshop, we are building expertise in creative aging for Idaho. We plan to continue this pilot model to build capacity within our teaching artist workforce. And we'd be genuinely happy to share our process with any of you. So reach out anytime, and thanks.
Yeah, well done, you guys. Well done. I'm coming back on with you. Great job. Co-presentation, by the way, it works. Talk about proof of concept. This is great. We now know we can do flashes of inspiration with at least 2 people. So great work. So I saw Stephanie Haynes, I think, in the chat kind of had the same reaction I did listening, among other things, was real curiosity about these surveys, especially to the staff, perhaps. That was my question. Really wondering about, you know, I think, Laura, you mentioned that it was new for the sites to survey their residents. Can you speak a little bit about what that was like pitching that idea to them or kind of gaining their buy-in that you wanted to survey their residents about what might be meaningful for them?
Sure. So the first thing to say is that Lifetime Arts presented this entire administrative sequence to us, and it really helped us jump on a spaceship and begin implementation. The only thing we did with their suggested surveying sequence is simplify a lot. When we initially met with the homes, they really reported their residents had challenges with cognitive processing, and that was their major concern with this creative aging model. They were saying you can't have an art lecture where they're supposed to remember skills over time. That works in other settings, not here. And they were right. So it was important to listen. But Lifetime Arts has a facility survey as their first step. So you can head in, see what assets a facility has. It's stuff that you need for arts programming, but it's hard to think of in the meeting. We need a sink, we need space to dance, we need a floor that is safe to walk over if it's a movement class. So all of those materials were provided by them and helped us get going.
Thank you. Michael, any thoughts to add to that?
Nope, Laura's spot on that. I know Jocelyn's in the background here. She's on the larger call, but not part of the presentation. But Jocelyn, did you have anything to add? Because you've been right in the middle of this.
I don't have anything to add, but thank you so much for your quick and concise report on our program. I think you did a great job, Laura. And I'm glad we didn't go with the 3 of us doing the presentation like we had initially discussed.
Maybe next year, the 3 of you.
That's right.
Another quick question that I wanted to pose to you, Michael. I heard you say something very intriguing about you wanted to do something more than serve older adults more than as audience members. Tell us more. That really chimed for me in terms of research that NASAA has done about the way that, generally speaking, arts and culture organizations and funding for arts views older adults as in terms of potential audience members or volunteers. Can you share more about your thoughts?
Yes, all of us are creative beings. And just because we're getting older doesn't mean we get any less creative. And as Laura has pointed out in this work is as much about, well, it's about the creative muse in us all and keeping that alive, but it's also about social connections. And all of that happens through the creative process. People, as they age, should not just be seen as a person sitting in a seat in a theater. Everybody is a creative being who has much to offer. And through this workshop, we've even been discussing about we as human beings, as we age and our brains age, we have abilities to synthesize the creative process in ways that we couldn't when we were younger. And there's a holistic approach. We want to foster that. And arts organizations would do well to remember that, to engage people as we age in our own creativity through their auspices. And I think you'll also then find an increasing family among people in the community. And everybody wants to be connected in that way as family, don't we?
Well said. And Laura, anything to add to that?
I think that's it. I'm super fresh in my role, but when I look out and see the arts ed serving organizations that are connected with the commission, they just kill it for K-12. They do really amazing work with children. And I don't think it's that big of a leap to also invite other adults to the table.
Well, thank you both so much. That was a really, really great job. Really inspiring work. Thank you for your hard work. And we will move on to our final presenter, Flash of Inspiration, Stephanie Haynes, last but not least. Let me find you, Stephanie. I'm going to put your spotlight on. Oh, thank you, Tiffany. And we'll wait for Tiffany to bring up your slides. This is Stephanie Haynes, Arts Education and Accessibility Program Manager with the Indiana Arts Commission. Stephanie, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it. Whew, it's a tight one. Okay, hey everyone, I'm Stephanie Haynes, Indiana Arts Commission, and I'm going to be talking about our Lifelong Arts Indiana program. It's not dissimilar from what you've heard from some of the other states where we trained artists in creative aging and funded them. But this presentation specifically is going to focus on how we supported the artists throughout this process in a holistic way throughout the whole time. You know, we're primarily known as grant makers, and a lot of the work we do with grants, it's not easy. Filling out a grant, executing a grant project is not an everyday skill that everyone has. And so a few years ago, we started shifting towards this model with funding artists and supporting them throughout the process of applying for the grant before, during, and after. So we had a cohort of 25 artists selected for readiness and passion for the work. And we did a 3-day training with Lifetime Arts with those artists on how to get started doing creative aging, what it is. You know, all of them were already somewhat in this field, but learned a lot of best practices in creative aging from Lifetime Arts. But then we followed that up, not just like, okay, you're trained, go do it. We followed that up with coaching for our teaching artists in the curriculum. Lifetime Arts helped with that, really working out of a solid lesson plan for a residency process. And then here's what I think is a little bit unique is we added also coaching for partnerships. So these artists, we tasked them with going back into their communities after the training, using the funding we were going to give them, and find a partner that you could do your residency with in your own community, whether it's assisted living or it's a church, like I said, a group of people, anywhere a group of people gathers that were older adults, parks department, wherever. And so we gave them coaching on how to be a good partner, how to understand what the other facility was bringing to the table, what you bring to the table, and how to overlap everyone's strengths. So that got really positive feedback from our teaching artists. We gave them $1,000 grant to do a residency. Of course, we helped them with a project application. They did have to have a short application for that funding. It was paneled in all the kind of normal processes of our grants. But throughout the whole thing, from when we selected the cohort till the end, it was kind of a constant feedback and listening loop. So, for example, they asked for a Facebook group where they could stay connected, right? The artists requested that they stay in touch with each other after they got to know each other in the training. And they could work with each other, ask questions, here are my challenges, here's what's going on with me. We also did monthly meetups on Zoom where they got to just drop in if they wanted to, tell us what was going on with their project that month. If they had questions for each other or just to support each other. I think that was one of the biggest benefits of having this whole continuum of support for the teaching artists, is that they were supported and they felt like they had somewhere to go to see and stay motivated and see what good work was going on with other artists around the state and be confident that they were doing what they needed to do. We saw really superb programming, okay? They, with all the feedback from other peers, from us, from Lifetime Arts, they made these amazing programs that I think in traditional grant making, when you just give the funds and walk away, that maybe these were above and beyond what we would normally see. We saw everyone being super proud of the work. Like on the Facebook groups, they would post pictures. Here's my gallery show. My participants put on a show. It was so exciting. And everyone in the group, the other teaching artists, would be like, yeah, that's amazing. So lots of pride, gratefulness. And the outcomes we saw in a bigger scale was this ripple effect, right? We have this cohort of artists from all over the state, all different communities, all different identities, and they were able to take this work back into their own community, make connections, and ripple this work out. We now have this creative aging workforce we're building across the whole state and making local connections wherever these artists are from, because all of this work was done over Zoom. We were able to really have a nice wide cohort. What we're doing next is we have these artists that are ready and supported in their work, and we're going to focus on community awareness, getting the aging service provider locations to be excited and ready to bring those artists in more and more. So we are very grateful to the artists that participated in our creative aging program and excited to see the future work that they do. Thank you.
All right, Stephanie, way to go, way to go. Coming back to you here. All right, thanks. And so many things, so many questions for you. I love this idea of creative aging workforce. It reminded me of a question that I saw, I think, in the chat in our previous presentation with Jamie Dunlap and Dr. Kat Cullen and Jason Kabulich about really providing the professional development necessary to help teaching artists grow in this way. Can you say a little bit about any visions that you have? Like, what is that for you all in Indiana, a creative aging workforce? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, we definitely want to cultivate a landscape here in Indiana, not to kill this metaphor, but like a fertile land that provides for these artists to make careers and make their way as a professional teaching artist in using the creative aging field as a piece of that work for them. So this creative workforce is going to hopefully have a new door open to them to do work across the state and make an impact.
Well, I know that the Indiana Arts Commission, you all do an amazing job really investing in your artists. And I think your point that you made about supporting artists before, during, and after a grant process and helping them even build the skills to apply for grants and be successful in that way speaks to the way that you all invest in and cultivate and support artists. And so it makes sense that that would translate into the creative aging work as well. I wonder whether you can say more about how the Creative Aging Project has helped you all at the Indiana Arts Commission kind of level up your other programs. Like how has, the iteration that you have done building your Creative Aging program now coming back to your other programming with more information?
Yeah, the model of supporting the artist didn't get invented with this creative aging work. We have been doing a similar model with what we call our on-ramp creative entrepreneurship program, where we train artists in entrepreneurship skills and we fund them, and then we support them throughout the year to get to do a project to level up their career. So I kind of stole that model that was already successful in Indiana and applied it to creative aging. But then I also took that model after using it for creative aging and used it this summer on my arts education residency program. So it's a model we've been developing for a while in Indiana to great success. You know, it does matter, the scale matters. You know, we're working with smaller cohorts, 30 some people, and you can do some good support with a decent sized cohort. When you have grants that are for 200 people, that's, you know, the model's different. But we have found success with this cohort learning grant pairing, and we have multiplied that in different programs.
It's really exciting. I mean, I know also that you are, and other state arts agencies, I think, might be constructed this way too, where you are the staff person that is able to do that kind of weaving and iteration because it's in your portfolio, both of these things. But, you know, I note Kim's comment about how fruitful it is to make sure lots of different staff members are in touch about good programming across the agency. So well done, applause. There was no, you know, what can I say? You guys are all amazing professionals. So I want to invite Tiffany, if you would, to bring us all back on here for some final Q&A. And speaking of Tiffany, my hat is off to you. You just nailed it. So thank you for the presentation support. And let's see, I think we do have some different questions coming up from our attendees today. So let's see, let's find Kim and Samantha. Great job, guys. Can you just like take a breather, relax? Yes. In addition to just a lot of kudos and thanks that are happening in the chat, I saw a couple of questions too. One thing, this might be for Laura and Michael, is about Department of Defense and Veterans Affairs and sort of the budgets that exist, maybe at the federal level, maybe at the state level. Can you speak a little bit about your partnership as an agency, as a state agency to a state agency, and what that might look like for the sustainability of this work going forward, knowing that veterans are a really important and unique segment of a aging population?
Sure, I'll address that to some degree initially, but Laura might have an operational side of that too. But at the agency leadership side, agency to agency has a more fluid relationship, for instance, budgetarily. We don't have to deal with as many of the contracting issues that you have to deal with when you're working with an outside entity. It's critical that the leadership of both agencies be in simpatico on this. And that's at the state level. That's very simple, very straightforward. And yeah, fellow bikers, that helps, doesn't hurt. But then at the federal level, you have Veterans Affairs, and that's a very different agency, and it's much larger. However, these are different populations. Veterans Services works with aging veterans. Veterans Affairs works with veterans of all ages. And we are also now, it took us 2 years to do this, but we removed a prohibition we previously had on supporting creative arts therapies as well, which is different from the creative aging. And that is an area we're investigating with Veterans Affairs so that it is not age limited, but it is spanning the entire veteran population. I can also tell you that the VA is interested in creative arts therapy and even creative aging. And so you're probably going to find receptive audiences there, but it's also going to go from facility to facility. In Boise, Idaho, we now have a full-time creative arts therapist working for the VA, the Boise VA. And we have a state of creative arts therapists working together, and we're all communicating. So in that way, it's very hopeful for me. But that does work from facility to facility. It isn't nationwide when you're dealing with these kinds of priorities. Laura, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing else.
I hope that was helpful as an answer to people.
It was, and also helpful in the sense that sometimes the more we learn, the less we know. I think really learning about the way that state agencies work and how they intersect with federal agencies and state to state is so different. It's very complex, and another reason why my hat is off to all of you for the work that you do, because it's a lot to navigate.
Let me say too that Veterans Affairs, the VA, and this is not an indictment of them, it's just the world they live in, is far more complicated and bureaucratically regulated. And I don't mean bureaucratic in the awful sense, but it just is. It's a complicated field, and it is very complicated for them, and it's complicated for anyone who's going to work with them. And you have to be prepared for that and prepared to be very patient. State agencies tend to be more flexible and nimble in these ways. And even in the 13 original Commonwealths, as bureaucratic as they can be, because they've had time to entrench it. I speak to you, PA, I love you dearly, but nonetheless, it is still simpler at the state to state agency level than it is state to federal.
Important reality check, I think. Next question, Kim, this one is for you. Question, in your presentation, you talked about the evolution of your program over a period of time. And one of the pieces of advice that you left us with was, it's a long game. It's a long-term commitment. Can you share more about how the Creative Aging 1 and the Person-Centered Music initiative, how has that led to where you are now, and how are you kind of managing to keep all of those moving forward with a long game in mind?
Oh, great question. I'd love to answer that. Creative Aging Tennessee 1 was really our introduction, I think, to the state of Tennessee about the issues that older adults are facing. And what I didn't get a chance to say is that we did 3 what we call roundtables throughout Tennessee in the 3 different regions, where we brought in some experts, and we brought in some of the Tennessee Commission on Aging and Disability, where we invited everybody and anybody from community that were interested in learning more, working with older adults in the state. So we got the libraries, healthcare professionals, artists, and many of these folks had never been at the same table together. And so for us, that Creative Aging, and then when we did our first grants funding under Creative Aging Tennessee 1, I mean, the need was definitely, people were putting in applications wanting to get the funding, and we were getting in applications from very small rural communities. And that kind of really set the stage for us. And I think how it led us into the Tennessee Person-Centered Music is really one of our partners. It was the Tennessee Health Department who said, hey, have you guys ever applied for civil monetary penalty fund? And we basically said, well, what is that? Okay. And that's basically a fund that states have where nursing homes, sometimes they get charge fees for things, but then that money is turned around and made and used for good out in the community. And so we actually applied for it, and that's how we got the $1 million in funding to do the Tennessee Person-Centered Music program. So one thing literally led to another, and so that's kind of been how we've been connected. And then when we left, Tennessee Person-Centered Music is still going on. But then we knew we wanted to do so much more out in community. And so that's where we're so grateful, to the Michelson Philanthropy, because we knew that roster was important. We knew we need to continue funding out in these communities. And so, yes, this is our story of what's happened over the years.
It's amazing to hear just one thing leads to the next. It just does. Mm-hmm. And also thank you for the reminder of yet another kind of layer of the bureaucratic or kind of state level work is like really knowing what these kind of like the civil monetary penalty fund, I think it was what it was called. Like it's, if you don't know, you don't know, but if you do know, you know, and that can make all the difference. Okay, so I see some hands raised, and Alan, why don't you go ahead and ask your question, then I'm gonna get to Sheila Ross.
Okay, thank you again. Great presentations. Just a real quick comment to Michael and your Arts Council. I was in marching band. Marching band leads to the ideas of military bands. You look at the budget of military bands and you compare it to all the arts councils and the National Endowment of the Arts, it is really a priority issue. And sometimes I have a lot of problem with that. Where is our money going? How can you compare the two? I don't mean to make it into a political issue, but that's what's in my mind, and that's I'm glad you presented. But my question had to do more with the different age groups that are coming into our senior programming. Sheila, who's on our conversations here, brought to my attention also that she and her mom are, I guess, different age groups, but with different interests. I'm in the baby boomer. I'm 68. Okay, what I'm interested in from a senior center or a senior program is going to be very different than people who might be in their 70s, 80s, and their 90s. And we're going through a transition right now, and the baby boomers are coming, big time. Just curious, as an open question to all of you, you're doing great work in all of your states. Are you aware of these changes, and are you addressing them in any significant way that could be helpful to us as teaching artists or as other professionals in the arts administration field? Hey, thanks.
Please, Stephanie, and then Laura.
Yeah, I think, especially with our work with Lifetime Arts, there are conversations that we have with our teaching artists about the broad spectrum that falls in this huge category of older adults, right? The 65 plus, sometimes it's 55 plus, up to 100. It's a very wide age range. Not only age, but we're talking about a spectrum of disability and like a spectrum of locations, like we've mentioned, several of us mentioned. Sometimes it is a skilled nursing facility, and often that's what people think, but our conversations, we do spend time saying, it's not just that. You know, Lifetime Arts is sharing statistics about the percentage of people who are aging at home, and so we need to think differently, challenge those ageist assumptions, and start thinking about where we can find older adults that they are in their community and gather them together, whether it's church or a community center, YMCA, or Parks Department. And so, yeah, we spend a lot of time with our teaching artists talking about all those different identities and the wide spectrum that they should be thinking about when they're doing this work.
And I'll just amplify what Stephanie said. So in our work in the veterans homes, the generational issue was really raised. You can tell, you know, folks had different wars that they served in. When we walked for the first time into the Boise veterans home, they had really like gone all in on Betty Boop style, like 1930s looking stuff, right? And that could be relevant to a generation, but maybe is becoming less and less so. And so something I'm thinking of is even beyond surveying folks to ask, like, what kinds of arts learning would you want? Building in next time we do this, ways to invite residents to the table of planning conversations so that they're really meaningfully involved in every aspect of what the arts learning experience will be. And not going in with assumptions about, you know, even what their aesthetic preferences are. We don't know until we ask.
I remember Kim's slide had that bullet point list of spaces, you know, where people might connect. And Samantha, I saw you give a little extra. Do you want to add something there about the need to inquire?
No, I just want to amplify everything my colleagues have said. They've said it much better and much more eloquently than I can. So just amplifying them.
Fair enough. How about you, Kim? Thought on that?
I'm in the same boat as Samantha. They've said it, and I won't add anything further.
Well, Sheila Ross had a question. So let's hear from you, Sheila.
Well, I did. First of all, I'll just ask in advance permission to steal, because everybody has such great stuff. You might be seeing it in Delaware. It looks like that looks familiar. But anyway, I wanted to echo what Alan said. And when he made the point, I said, you know, that's something to think about. How do we, and I don't have an answer yet, but how do we market to the diverse age groups that fall under this creative aging? Because I'm going to wager people in my age group from 55 to 65, let's say, do not consider themselves aging at all. But my mother, who's 85, a very active 85, and I are in the same age group, but chances are we're not going to want to do the same stuff. So it's just some food for thought for all of us is, you know, how do we work with different age ranges to give everyone what they need? Yeah.
Great comment. It makes me think, Sheila, about some conversations over the last 2 years that I've had with, you know, your peers in our grantee cohort about how, back to the conversation about ageism, that even the term creative aging can be a little bit of a marketing problem, because a lot of folks don't want to see ourselves as aging because of aging stereotypes, and that lifelong learning in the arts or other ways to encapsulate what the idea is might be something we need to think about. It's hard to know when we're reinforcing or helping us move beyond ageism and ageist stereotypes, but also we want people to engage and be well served. So great points.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephanie, go ahead.
Just from a very specific answer to this is that advice that I give, similar to what I give in arts education in general, is just know your audience, be very specific, and serve those people that are in front of you, right? Like, we can train you on all of this different creative aging type of things, but you need to know where you're going, when you show up, who's there, what accommodations and what kinds of adaptations you need to be making. And like Laura was pointing out, having that survey and just really being responsive to the humans in front of you, no matter what age they are. So yeah, there's a framework for delivering this creative aging. That's kind of the best practice, but it's always going to be adjusted when you're in front of a group of people. So we had our 25 teaching artists that participated all over the map, 100% just like different. Everybody had a different group of people in front of them, and they all did a different approach, and that felt great. I love seeing those reports coming in that everyone was serving their own group in a way that was appropriate for them.
A question that I saw come up in the chat a little while ago, I don't remember whose presentation it was connected to, was about any kind of tracking that you're doing to really understand if the needle is being moved effectively. Like, how do we know that this work is in fact leading to increases in well-being, happiness, health? Are you all concerned with that, or tracking that, or thinking that might be next steps for you?
Laura or Jocelyn, do you have anything to say on that? Because I know we're going to be leaning heavily on our peers at Veterans Services.
So yeah, from program design, we talked about student experience outcomes and then had some metrics to measure, but they weren't medical metrics, as the comment talked about. And I've been really inspired in the course of the Creative Aging Institute by colleagues who have partnered with university partners that study aging and gerontology. So that's definitely something to look into, but we haven't done it yet.
And I can jump in on that one also. Yeah, I saw that question earlier about, how are we, really measuring our success? And I can say that 2 points I want to make. In terms of I think somebody made this, but anyway, about health or outcomes or something. But with the Tennessee Person-Centered Music Program that's in nursing homes, we really rely on the staff of the nursing home to give us quarterly reports. Okay, that's the simple way of saying that. And they actually say, I mean, on there, you know, it's the person taking less medication, basically. And so I won't go through everything with that, but that's part of what we get back in that particular program. In terms of our creative aging initiatives, I think the way that we're measuring it is, you know, getting into those rural communities that we haven't gotten into before, to be honest with you. I mean, some of these communities, I mean, didn't even know where to go to find artists to work with older adults, and then being able to train those artists now in those communities. I think we look at that as such a win-win and such a success for the program, just in being able to do that. And then just the pure numbers of people, you know, getting them out of their homes who are going to these programs, you know, is another piece of this. And then I'll just add on one more thing, and then I'll be quiet, is on that last question, Susan, you did bring, in terms of baby boomers and all of that, I just want to say, you know, I'm a baby boomer. I'm the last year, I'm not going to tell my age, but I'm I'm the last year of the baby boom age. Okay. And you're right, Susan, you jolted my memory on this, is that, yes, I think with all of us, if I had to do creative aging 3, to give that thought, to be more thoughtful and strategic in those spaces and those places where we're reaching older adults. This is ever-changing work. We learn all the time, all the time. And I think that's the exciting parts of this work also, because that's what I meant about being flexible. We learn, we change, we pivot, and we keep it going. So just wanted to add that on to that.
Personally, I cannot think of a more perfect place to bring our conversation to a close than with that final thought from Kim. We are flexible, we learn, we adapt, we pivot, we keep learning, and that's what this is about lifelong learning in the arts. So I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart, Laura and Michael and Kim and Stephanie and Samantha, for your brilliant flashes of inspiration today. And not only that, but also to congratulate you on your incredibly hard work and persistence over these last 2 years. You've successfully piloted or built upon previous programs in the Leveraging State Investments in Creative Aging Initiative, and your hard work is a beautiful thing to witness. We didn't have a chance, obviously, to hear from all 36 participants in the initiative cohort today on our flashes, but your good work really speaks volumes about the challenges and opportunities and the exciting next steps that are happening across the country in your peer state arts agencies as well. I want to encourage everyone to check out NASAA's website to see what's happening in your state, if you didn't see it represented yet. And speaking of exciting next steps, I am so thrilled to remind everyone that NASAA and E.A. Michelson Philanthropy will continue our partnership with a new joint initiative called States Leading Creative Aging. Again, Pam Bro mentioned this in our opening remarks, but beginning in 2023, funding is going to be available for our state arts agency members to build on their promising work and demonstrate to the entire field what can be gained when state arts councils have the resources to extend statewide initiatives, provide creative aging leadership, and advance equitable access to creative aging. As part of this new initiative, we are so pleased that we're going to be able to continue offering creative aging institutes for the benefit of the whole field. And we look forward to seeing everyone in a year when that happens. NASAA and E.A. Michelson Philanthropy will be sharing a more formal announcement in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for details about how to stay connected in this important work ahead. Folks, it is time to wrap up the 2022 Creative Aging Institute. And I want to leave you with 2 final thoughts. First is logistics. I'm going to post a survey in the chat, rather Tiffany will. And I want to encourage you all to share with us your experiences of the 2022 Creative Aging Institute. It really helps us provide good programming for you. So please do fill it out. I'll also send it in an email that you'll receive before the end of the week. along with information about how to access session recordings on demand and free of charge on NASAA's YouTube channel. Please feel free to share the recordings far and wide in your network, and keep in touch with me. If you have any follow-up questions or comments, you are welcome to email me, which Tiffany will share my email in the chat. The second thing is, you might recall on the beginning of day 2, last Wednesday, I offered the following reflection prompts. What do you hope to discover? What do you hope to contribute? Is there a particular person in your life who inspires you to do this work? And I want to end by just recalling some of what you shared in your responses in your own words as our final takeaway. What do you hope to discover? How to build sustainable, affordable visual art programs with partner agencies. I hope to discover more about my own thoughts that may be ageist and dismantle them. How to get seniors to share their knowledge with our youth so that we have people prepared to make our world better when we are gone. What do you hope to contribute? Carry wisdom down from our elders and create more spaces for them to share their stories. Hope to contribute to the lifelong learning of older adults at the level that they may be at. Contributing, treating all with dignity, breaking down barriers of entry, listening attentively, enhancing accessibility. I'm here to listen and hear how folks are negotiating and teaching and working with older adults, and how older adults desire to be listened to. I hope to combat the social isolation so many elderly people experience and tap into their possibly untapped creativity. And I hope to support and create supported spaces for all older adults to see themselves as artists. Who influences you to do this work? My parents, who never got a chance to enjoy the arts, and my inspiration always, my grandpa Bud. Thank you, everyone. This was a really joyful event for me personally, and I really hope for you too. I am very grateful to have connected with so many colleagues who are dedicated to the field of creative aging. And I'm especially grateful to you, Tiffany Ballmer, for your rockstar work. Amazing to work with you. Please note that there's a survey link in the chat. Take time with it so we can really know your thoughts and program another great event for you and our growing community this time next year. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Thank you again. See you soon and stay in touch.